So today what I want to do is talk about repairing firearms and making parts in a long-term collapse. Currently we're experiencing the greatest depression the U.S. has ever seen, or the world, and we're headed toward an economic and social collapse. So the question is, if you don't have parts to sustain your firearms, they're just going to quit working. And if you look at manufacturer data, 5 years after a gun is manufactured, 50% of those firearms are no longer functional. So that's a pretty high attrition rate. Some of that is due to confiscation, damage, abuse. So a lot of these firearms are also lost in government operations and wars. So the government knows that the easiest way to get rid of firearms is to limit ammunition and to limit spare parts. So the most important spare parts to keep firearms going are the magazines. So for instance, this Beretta model 948, I bought this very cheap because it did not have a magazine with it. And I have made custom magazines from scratch, and I've also made them from other magazines when a suitable donor was available. Right now you can buy this magazine for the Beretta 948 from Triple K Manufacturing. Triple K and other companies have a very large listing of magazines for obsolete weapons. Now a magazine like this is going to cost you between $30 and $50 for the average handgun. And what happens is you find out after you've been around firearms for a long time, magazines are always considered disposable parts. They are key to the function of a firearm. They're usually the first part of the firearm that breaks or starts to malfunction, and they are key to the reliable operation of the gun. This would be a very hard part to make by hand. It would take a lot of sheet metal forming skills, welding skills, and also you would have to manufacture the spring and follower that goes in it. If you have a model to go by, it's not as hard. But if you receive a firearm and you have no model to base the manufacture of a magazine on, it becomes an extremely difficult problem. And the way this would work in SHTF is you would experimentally make a prototype magazine. And this will take a lot of ammunition, because what you find over the years is dummy ammunition does not feed from a magazine like live ammunition does, because the weight distribution ratio of the rounds is different. And in order to get a reliable magazine, you're going to have to test fire it quite a bit. But once you make this magazine, then what you would do is set up jigs, tooling, and fixtures to manufacture them in quantity. That way you have a consistent product and it's easier to manufacture. But magazines are the key to success with semi-automatic and automatic weapons. Now I'll give you another example. This is a Madsen M50 9mm submachine gun. This is probably the most prolific pre and post sample dealer sample submachine gun in the United States. So in SHTF you're going to see a lot of these around. Most firearm dealers that are class 3 have one of these. They were used in the movie industry extensively in the 60s and early 70s, and a lot of these were sold into the dealer networks when Stembridge Studios, Universal Studios, and some of the others got rid of their firearm collections. These were also sold extensively to police departments in the United States. So you'll see a lot of these. But the magazine is very different than anything else stateside. Now, the closest thing to this is probably an M11-9 magazine, because a lot of these magazines that were imported as surplus, they were converted to be used in M11-9s by a class 3 dealer, class 2 manufacturer. He imported thousands of these and converted them to M11-9 mags. So if you don't have a supply of magazines, or you come across a weapon like this and you want to utilize it in SHTF, you're going to have to make these magazines. And in order to have a successful automatic weapon employment, you need a lot of magazines. So you would want between 6 and 10 magazines per gun in order to utilize the firepower of this weapon. So when we talk about SHTF, whether it's a submachine gun, a rifle, or a pistol, having sufficient magazines is critical. So my advice is get them now. This is as easy and as cheap as they will ever be to get, because you really don't want to have to manufacture these during SHTF. So please comment, rate, subscribe. We'll see you on the next video.